I have to. You please join in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. We have a motion to approve the agenda.
I so move.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, we are now moving on to the public input hearing for comments regarding the proposed 2023-2024 calendar. I'm going to read a quick statement and then we will move on to the presentation from our calendar committee. Thank you all for coming to tonight's meeting. The purpose of tonight's meeting is to hear questions and comments related to alternative calendars. In order for a district to have less than 175 school days and move to count the minutes of a school day, the board must hold 2 public hearings related to alternative calendars. The decision as to if the board submits an application for an alternative calendar will occur during the regular February board meeting to be held on February 14th. The structure of this meeting is slightly different from the structure of public comment during a regular board meeting. This structure allows for some interaction. Board members may ask for clarification of a question or thought and may enlist members of the calendar committee to answer a question. Even though the structure of tonight's public hearing is not the same as public comment at a regular board meeting, we will still strictly follow the following guidelines. Keep comments and questions to 5 minutes. Please introduce yourself and speak with respect. Do not yield your allotted time to others and do not repeat previous comments that have already been made. Behave politely and do not rebut others' comments without permission. There are 2 different colored sheets available for you this evening. The white sheet is available if you prefer not to speak but would like to submit questions for follow-up. Please write your questions down and submit them. We will either address that question at tonight's meeting, address it in an FAQ that we will share on social media, or address the question in our next. Nope, this is from last time. Those are your only options. We don't have another. The goldenrod sheet is the sheet for our public comment for this evening. Please place your name on the sheet and submit it to Lorene or bring it up here. Thank you again for attending the meeting. We will hear questions and comments until 9 p.m. And now we will turn it over to our calendar committee.
Presentation on overhead, so we'll move down here.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Tim Williams. I was one of the co-chairs of the calendar committee. Mr. Gilchrist was my other co-chair. I'm going to share some information with you real quick and kind of go through some of the highlights of the calendars, and then Ms. Laura will share some of the survey data that we have collected so far. That will close the 12th, right? 13th.
Let me take a look. The day before the board meeting.
That survey is still available, and it's live data as of whenever she pulls it up. We use a company called Qualtrics, and they're a third-party vendor that's doing this survey for us, and you can still take that through the 13th of February, which is next Monday, the day before the board meeting. So when we started meeting as the alternative calendar committee, this was something that was brought in through negotiations last year, salary negotiations. It was agreed that we would look at calendars, and Mr. Gilchrist and I were assigned the duty of being the co-chairs for it. We asked for volunteers. We had approximately 22 people on the committee: teachers, parents, board members, other staff members throughout the district. There was certified, there was classified, there was central administration, people that joined us. So there was a very wide variety of people that joined our committee. So we had some goals as we started. It was put teachers in front of kids more, put kids in the classroom more, less time for missed activities. That is one of the things that we really need to do. We understand that first year, if they go to the 4-day, it's not going to be perfect. The sports schedules aren't going to be perfect. It's going to take a year or 2 to get those adjusted to where we want them. We also want to give teachers more time to work within their contract. What we are finding is a lot of things keep getting added and added and added to a teacher's plate, and not a lot is being taken off, and they're asked to do it in the same amount of time that they've always had. So we have to find some kind of solution for them to have time to work, to prepare for students, to do interventions, all that kind of stuff that they're being to do. And you can see there, PLCs, collegial, professional development, student success teams, those are our problem solving teams. Staff and district meetings, IEP meetings, grading and entering grades, and there's a lot more that goes along with that. So we looked at a lot of different options. We looked at year round, we looked at 4-day, we looked at a year round 4-day, and we looked at what we call the balanced calendar, which extended the year by about 10 days and put a couple of breaks in, because what we're seeing is a lot of families are starting to go on vacation during the school year. We've had 2 or 3 families this year that have decided to take off because that's when it works for them. I mean, they farm, they ranch. Summer's not a great time for them to go on vacation. And so they take off and go during the winter. So that was why we kind of looked at that and as an option. So we contacted a large amount of schools. We contacted schools within Wyoming, Colorado, Nebraska, Texas, and I think I left one off. I think we talked to a school in Idaho as well. School districts that are smaller than ours, all the way up to 25,000 students. So we tried to get a variety of sizes, not just what we were looking at. We wanted to get a variety of information. Currently, our students go 1,055 hours. Elementary, it's required that they go 900. Middle school is required to go 950, and high school is required to go 1,000. So we're over what we need to be going. The balanced calendar would not require us to change or apply for a variance to the state, because that includes 175 school days, 185 staff days, just like we just do. It's just in a different format. We would have to apply for a variance to the state if we go with the 4-day option. We were kind of given some directives. We wanted to stay close to the number of student hours that we currently have. We also wanted to stay very close to the number of staff hours that we currently have, so we didn't have to renegotiate contracts and do all that kind of stuff. As we went through this, there was a lot of discussion about a lot of different groups that could potentially be affected by a change in our calendar. And our goal the entire time was to not, like, our classified staff, our bus drivers, our custodians, our cooks, all those people, our secretaries, we want to hold them as close to full as absolutely possible. There's a couple of different ways you can do that. You can have them work on those Fridays as well, doing different things. Like the custodians are going to be in the buildings anyways. That 4-day option for them is kind of great, because they're going to get to do some cleaning without staff and students in the building during the day. And get their whole staff in there at once, and that would really help them out. As we talked with Miss Essert, the food service director, she said, paperwork and preparing meals for the next week and all those kinds of things were options for her food service staff. The board can also decide that they want to hold those people whole by increasing the amount per hour that they make. So they might get less hours, but they would make more per hour, kind of just evening that out. So there's a couple of different options there, but we were very concerned. I mean, we never went in with this and with the idea in mind that it was cost savings. We were just going to cut people's hours or anything like that. We were very cognizant, and we don't want to hurt anybody's income. Our staff, our teachers are currently contracted for 1,357.5 hours. And we're trying to keep them very close to that. So if you kind of take a look at the calendars, we'll kind of go through that 4-day week option first. We would start about the same time that we do. That's pretty generally right about the week that we start school. All of the green Fridays, the dark green Fridays, are intervention work Fridays. Students will come in. There will be limited busing. It'll kind of be like the summer school routes that they run for kids to get them there. So it might not come right to your door, but there will be a bus within your area that your kids can get on and come to school. Teachers and paras will be in charge of those kids from 8 to noon. Teachers probably 8 to 9:30 or 10, somewhere in there. Then Paris would take over for a couple hours, and then the practice program. They applied for and received a grant for is it 5 years, Lynette? Yep, and with preparation for the 4-day week, just in case. And so they can put the practice program in place in the buildings, and then they would take over at noon and be in charge of them as late as 5:30, correct? Okay, so there would be daycare on those Fridays. The red Fridays, there would not be any kids or staff in the building. If you look at a lot of those correlate with state events, state football, state volleyball, state basketball, all those days that we lose a lot of staff and students anyways. We would get out of school on the 24th of May. It's about what we do right now. There's a couple of different options for length of school day. If you look in that packet, we kind of looked at like possibly 8 to 350. That is using the 8-period system that we use right now. I kind of started messing around with some stuff this last week. And if we were to go to trimesters, which is a later discussion, there is a way that you can go 69-minute periods, because on the trimester, you have 6 periods per day instead of 8. You go 69-minute periods, you have a 3-minute passing period, you add 1 minute to the day. 3:36 would be our dismissal time, and we would go 1,048.8 hours, which is 6 hours less than what we go right now. So it's still very close. So I know a lot of those concerns about kids getting home later in the day and athletics starting later and all those are valid. Absolutely, we get that. So we want to look at some options that maybe don't push the kids getting home later. So let me see here. On the balanced calendar, like I said, what that does is that puts in a fall break and a spring break. Gives families an opportunity to go on vacation during the school year more than what we have right now. Right now, our only big break is Christmas, and then we do have the week spring break. But this gives you a fall option and a spring option if you need to go on vacation during the school year. We would start the same exact time as we do right now. We're very cognizant of state fair and how that affects people in this area. So that does push us back a little bit later and getting out June 7th. Staff would come on those 2 breaks, the fall break and the spring break. They would come the first 2 days of those as work days and have meetings or whatever it is that they need to do. Those would be set up in advance. If you're a student and you're struggling, you would come that, well, I guess we could say first or second. I guess it doesn't matter. You would come one of the 2 weeks. We would use summer school money to pay staff to work with students during those breaks. And the idea behind that is if I struggle in the first quarter, it would sure be a lot better for me to get some remedial help after the first quarter, other than waiting to the end of the year and trying to do credit recovery during the summer. And that's kind of the idea with those Green Fridays on the 4-day calendar too. We would be doing intervention with kids. Kids could choose to come, or they could be asked to come for those interventions. But just trying to give teachers time with those students in small groups so that there's some more intensive intervention that can be done. So that was one of the goals of the committee. Is there anything else? Okay, anything else you want me to share, Mr. Chairman? Okay. All right, I will turn it over to Ms. Laura.
Right. Thank you all for coming tonight. We appreciate that. One of the tasks of the calendar committee was to prepare a survey for our students, our parents, and our staff. The survey is ongoing, as Mr. Williams mentioned, and so I encourage everyone to go to our website and continue to take that survey. Tonight, I'm going to cover briefly the results of the survey. What you're seeing is in real time. I downloaded this information at 5 o'clock tonight. So we're seeing the data in real time. The first that I'll draw your attention to is our student data. To date, we have had, we've had 473 responses. As you can see, Torrington Middle School is our largest group of respondents. One of the questions, we ask our students a series of 3 questions with options to provide a written narrative of why they liked the calendar or what they didn't like about the calendar, for both options. So the first question is in favor of a 4-day school calendar. You can see that 66% of our students strongly or somewhat favor. That is 209 strongly favor and 103 somewhat in favor. So that'll give you an idea of how our students are responding to the 4-day calendar. In favor of a balanced calendar, 22.4% are strongly or somewhat in favor. The largest group is those that were opposed to it, and 58.4% of the students oppose or strongly opposed the balanced calendar. So from here, the obvious is that they prefer the 4-day calendar over the balanced calendar. The second set of data that we're looking at tonight is the parent data. We've had 571 responses. The Torrington folks are our strongest group, with Torrington Middle School, High School, Platte River, and Trail as well. So of that, we had to date, we have 129 Lingle Fort Laramie parents responding, 329 Torrington parents responding, and 113 Southeast parents responding. We also asked the questions, and all of this data will be presented in full when the survey closes. One of the other questions we ask is, what grade is your child in? We were interested to know, how are parents impacted? Where are their students in our schools? So again, we ask a series of parents of 9 questions around the 4-day calendar and the balanced calendar. The first question is, are you in favor of a 4-day school calendar? 62.9% of the respondents were in favor or strongly in favor. And there was a slight amount that was opposed, 26.1% opposed. We asked the question, are you in favor of the balanced calendar? And that response, 21.7 strongly or somewhat favor the balanced calendar. 51.5% were neither in favor nor opposed, and there were some that were somewhat opposed. So one of the things that we ask for our parents is we wanted to know what were their biggest concerns. We asked a series of questions, or we gave a series of options, including childcare, contracted staff pay, length of the school day, quality of instruction, shortened holiday breaks, sources of food for those in need, and those with no concern. The biggest concern with the 4-day calendar was the length of the school day. And I know that Mr. Williams addressed that concern tonight. So as we look through the data that we're getting in real time, the calendar committee is working to present answers for those concerns. So we hope that we're able to do that for you. The second concern was childcare. That was the third concern. We've addressed that working with outside entities. And the second largest was they had no concerns. One of a question that we asked were, what are the positive aspects of a 4-day calendar? And unfortunately, tonight, that information was not available on the third-party vendor website. So I'll do some checking on that and follow up. I'm always happy to answer any questions that you may have. So when we're looking at the balanced calendar, some of the questions that we ask parents, again, concerns and favor. The concerns that were expressed, the two largest, the length of the school year and the non-traditional breaks. The positive aspects is a time for the opportunity for intervention and credit recovery, because those would be done in blocks. The last set of data that we look at are our staff data. We ask our staff 12 questions. The first that we wanted to know is where is their primary work assignment? Again, you can see Torrington staff with the highest response. Further, we ask them, where do you fit in the district? What's your role? Of the respondents, 61% are certified staff, 33% were classified, and 6% were administrative. So we had a nice selection of folks that were responding. The first question that we asked, would you be in favor of a 4-day school calendar? 72.2% of our staff are strongly or somewhat in favor of a 4-day school calendar. Some of the questions we asked of a 4-day school calendar is improvements for enrichment in intervention. 77 of our staff members agree, strongly agree, and 46 somewhat agree. So that was the strongest. There was a very small percentage, 6 that disagreed, and 8 that disagreed. The next question we ask is, a 4-day work week will improve opportunities for district and building meetings. Again, overwhelmingly in support, strongly agree or somewhat agree with that statement. We also ask, with respect to students, what are some concerns or issues? The first that our staff had a concern about was the length of the school day. Again, the calendar committee addressed that. The second group didn't have any concerns regarding the length of the day or regarding the concerns. And the third was the source of food for those in need. And that was the third group. The next question that we asked is, are you in favor of a balanced calendar? And gave some options for folks to comment on this. Throughout all of these surveys, each of the groups had an opportunity to respond with comments. So those will be available at a later date as well. So the question, would you be in favor of a balanced calendar? We had 19.2% that were in favor, and the data, the questions that we ask of the balanced calendar is the improvement of opportunities for enrichment and intervention. Our staff felt that a balanced calendar would not strongly impact that enrichment or intervention. We asked the question, a balanced calendar will improve opportunities for the district. Again, our respondents in our staff felt that it would not improve opportunities for district and building meetings. And we also asked time for additional planning. And again, our staff did not feel that this calendar would allow time for additional planning. We also asked the effect on students in regard to the balanced calendar. Again, the length of the school year and the non-traditional breaks were the two largest concerns. So that concludes the data that's in that's live that the calendar committee continues to look at. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much to the calendar committee. I know you all have spent hours and hours researching and working on this problem. Hopefully we're getting some of those questions answered. So we will go into the public comment section now. First up is Michelle Taylor, I think.
Members of the board. This is on thing. Sorry. My name is Michelle Tater. I've been employed by Goshen County School District as a food service employee for the past 25 years. I'm speaking tonight regarding the proposed 4-day school week and why I'm against it. 4 years ago, I spoke against the same topic on February 5th, 2019. Here we are addressing this issue again. I ask you to think about the impact that this will have on all the food service workers, bus drivers, and carers in the district. As you contemplate this life-changing decision, put faces on each of these employees that will be affected in your schools. Could any of you afford to lose $600 or more of your monthly income? Because this is what my colleagues and I will be faced with. The financial impact of the alternative calendar will be specifically felt by the employees with the lowest incomes. I have experienced in the past that promises made that income and benefits will remain the same are soon forgotten by the next administration. Being reassured that we will remain whole when there is no concrete plan in place makes it just an empty promise. This contributes to the perception that we are not valued as employees and can be easily replaced. Is there 100% positive proof that a 4-day school week will improve our students' ability to learn? Or are we just doing an experiment at the expense of our support staff? I believe the financial burden of this decision will be drastically felt by the socioeconomically disadvantaged families in the county. Think about the single-parent households, grandparents raising their grandkids, families whose income is near or below poverty level. The added stresses that you will be placing on these families will be counterproductive to helping these kids learn. I leave you with this thought tonight. Will the benefits of a 4-day school week be worth the detrimental impact to your friends, your coworkers, and your family members? Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Michelle. Up next, Loudon Runner, Leah Foster, and Addie Scott.
Vice Chairman, Chairs, Superintendent Kramer, and members of the board. Thank you for the opportunity to speak here tonight. I'm Loudon Bremer, a sophomore at Lingle Fort Laramie High School, representing the school on behalf of the Student Council as the Vice President. We are in favor of a 4-day school week. One of the biggest advantages of this improved schedule is the impact that it would have on our student athletes. First, these students are missing school for sports already. So with these Fridays off, student athletes will not have to pay catch up due to missing assignments. Secondly, so far this basketball season, there have already been 3 games, now 4, counting the one tonight, that have had to be rescheduled. With these Fridays off, they can be moved to these days without sacrificing a day of learning. Another benefit of this schedule comes from an academic perspective. Therefore, my last point is that we will have much more productive class time as periods will be longer and teachers will have more planning time to enhance that learning during this time. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Addison Scott. I'm a sophomore from Lincoln Learning High School, and I'm representing our sophomore class. Our next point is focused on opening opportunities for students to work on their careers. Many of our LFL students work jobs on the weekends or after school. This extra workday would help improve career readiness among students and allow time to balance school and work. Our fourth objective addresses enrichment and remediation time. We could use these Fridays to provide real-life learning experiences and give students the opportunity to have more one-on-one time with teachers. Currently, we have very limited time for any enrichment activities or remediation. Having a designated time for these individuals is vital for all student academic productivity. And my final point. I have talked to many students of the sophomore class, and I've heard concerns about the shorter Christmas and spring break. However, I believe with 3-day weekends, the school week will be much less overwhelming, so we won't feel the need for long breaks throughout the school year. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Leah Foster. I'm a junior at Lincoln Learning High School, and I'm here today as a junior class representative and a delegate for our student body. I'm going to touch on a little bit of the balanced calendar. After talking with various students around the school, we have decided that we are not in favor of this option. The largest concern brought up was that students are worried that if we have to start work on June 7th, job availability and income will drop drastically and will have more effect on the high schoolers than you know. The second issue that we recognized was the remediation dates. We as a school collectively believe that it's going to be more effective if we can get students the help they need once a week rather than putting it off to the end of the semester. Students will be able to maintain the knowledge over a course of a semester and have those key building blocks to continue learning rather than feeling behind all semester. Thank you for your time. We are happy to answer any questions you may have from a student's perspective, but if you don't mind, we have a question first. So when we were talking around our school, all of our friends have friends from like Burns and Pine. So something that they do is when they have a snow day, they just make it up on Fridays, and we were kind of wondering if that would be an option for us or if we would still have to make up snow days at the end of the year.
That was absolutely discussed with the calendar committee, correct, that the Fridays could be utilized for studies as well.
Thank you for your time again. And if you guys don't mind, we're all gonna go home and go to bed. We have a lot of sporting events tomorrow and we'd like to get some rest.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ivan, and Marty. Up next is Lena Mullen.
Good evening. What a great act to follow. Very proud of those kids for coming out and doing that. My name is Lena Muller. I'm a junior at Southeast and a fifth grader at Southeast Elementary. Change is always hard, but it doesn't mean that it shouldn't be done, and it doesn't mean it shouldn't be considered. This committee has done an incredible job of working through all of the details and all of the questions that have been posed throughout this process. No system perfect. And it's unfair to ask this committee to have answers to every question that is posed. What is fair is for us to trust them, to trust that Mr. Kramer appointed the right individuals that would spend the time, do their homework, and focus on what's important. Mr. Williams mentioned tonight that one of the goals is to get the teachers in front of the kids more. That is an incredibly important goal for us to be focused on. What I have heard in speaking with numerous teachers is that we are asking more and more of them each and every day, more and more requirements, more and more education, more and more training, yet there isn't more time in the day or the week for them to find time to do those things. Instead, what we are seeing and hearing is these teachers are tired. They're tired of trying to fit everything in. They're tired of these things delving into their personal lives and their personal time. And these are the individuals that we trust day in and day out to teach our kids and to educate our kids. It's time that we start trusting them when they say they need a change. They need something different. We need to trust this committee. We need to trust that they will work for the parents and they will work with the kids to help us all figure it out. There are lots of other schools around us that are doing these 4-day programs or these 4-day-a-week schedules. They all say it was hard the first year. Change is just hard. It's going to be. But if we don't start making some changes now, we are going to lose good teachers. We're going to lose teachers to those 4-day programs. We're not going to be able to recruit teachers because all of the other schools around us are doing this program. This committee has done their homework. They've looked at the studies, they've looked at the options, and this is what they are presenting to us. We are in favor of the 4-day school week. I will tell you from my own personal experience, I mentioned I have a daughter who's a junior in high school. She is one of those that doesn't play sports. She sits in classrooms most Fridays, most of the day by herself. There's no one else in the classes. Nothing moves forward. You can't expect the teachers to teach one kid because then they've got to catch up all the other kids. That is a waste of time. That's a waste of the teacher's time. That's a waste of the kids' time. And that time could be used better. So I would ask that this board please consider the 4-day schedule as has been proposed by the calendar committee and listen to these teachers. Listen to these kids that sat here and told you why they want the 4-day. We need a change and we need a change now. Thank you.
Thank you, Lena. Up next is David Blomker.
Right, thank you to the Board of Education, Mr. Kramer, and the Calendar Committee for the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is David Blomker, and I have been a 5th grade teacher at Trail Elementary for the past 10 years. I recognize that a 4-day school week may benefit some district stakeholders, but I have many concerns about this proposal. I'll speak to some of those from my perspective as an elementary teacher. One concern I have is about student contact time. The committee's first goal states that it's to put students in front of teachers more. 4-day week may simply do the opposite at the elementary level. Replacing a 5.5-hour school day on Fridays with an extra 20 to 30 minutes per day is an automatic loss of 3.5 hours or more of school time per week. Another issue is lengthening the school day, especially for younger students. The additional time from 3:30 to 4 o'clock, for example, would not be as productive of learning time as we would lose on Friday mornings. A 4-day school week I think would impact the quality of instruction for 2 district initiatives. Eureka Math and Orton Gillingham. The Eureka Math curriculum that we adopted this past year includes about 140 lessons per school year for each grade. Plus, we need about 24 days or so for assessment and other needs with the program. With field trips and special events, this is currently a tight fit to complete the entire curriculum in 175 school days. In a 4-day week with 152 school days, teachers would have to choose which lessons to teach or combine lessons to complete the year's curriculum, or we would not be able to complete the entire year's curriculum. I do not believe the curriculum is written so that lessons can be easily combined. It would not be an equal benefit to add a few minutes to one day's math lesson on a longer school day in exchange for losing one day's lesson per week. The Orton Gillingham structure that we currently have includes a Monday lesson, Tuesday lesson, and Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday practice time with a quick assessment on Friday. Losing one day of practice time per week, the way the program is currently set up, I think would be detrimental to the design of the program.
I'm concerned that a 4-day week will compromise the curriculum that we have in place and make it more work for us to modify the existing curriculum to fit a new calendar. I also wonder if Friday interventions will be worth the loss of a school day each week. Students may not show up for the additional Friday times if they need to attend. I also wonder if students will put forth effort if they do attend on Fridays while their peers are at home. I'm concerned about school and community impacts that a 4-day school week may have. I feel that childcare issues alone are reason enough to avoid a 4-day school week. Many children we have may have will have one more day a week where they may not be adequately supervised. Many of our students rely on school for consistency, stability, and support. Currently, some students struggle to get back into a routine on Mondays. Having a 3-day weekend every weekend may make it more difficult to readjust for a new week. Finally, as a teacher, I feel that a 4-day week would make my work feel less student-centered. Even though teachers will be at school on many Fridays, I'm concerned the public perception will be that teachers are working less, even if this may not be the case. I look forward to seeing my students, my whole class every day. I'd be disappointed not to have the daily contact with my whole class each work day. Seeing our students is the reason teachers choose this profession. I understand there are many reasons for and against an alternative calendar and a 4-day week. I appreciate the work of the calendar committee for trying to think outside the box. I think it's challenging to find a plan that fits a variety of grade levels and buildings, but I think a 4-day week has disadvantages for too many groups. So I thank you for listening to my perspective.
Thank you, David. Up next is DJ Bold.
Hi, guys. I'm CJ. Thank you guys for allowing me to speak tonight. My main title in life is that I am a single mom. My son is a 2nd grade student in legal. My second title is my career, and that takes up most of my time, Monday through Friday, as most parents, right? My employer advocates for work-life balance and pushes for family time to unplug, step away from our careers and focus on our mental health, which I'm very fortunate for that. That is something I'm very blessed with. So I feel that the 4-day schedule is not the problem that we are facing. The problem is that our employees of the school district are burned out. They have no relief. There's no relief because what is the incentive for any new teachers to come to our district? It sure isn't the PTO or sick time that they get, which is next to nothing. Definitely not bonuses or planning periods that our current staff do not have time for either. So what can we do? We can listen to our teachers. We can listen to our staff members. And we can try to advocate for them and make them happier. If our staff and our teachers are happier, then we are more likely to recruit more teachers and give our current teachers more relief. So I vote in favor of the 4-day school week and understand that it will not be perfect and there are going to be bumps and bruises along the way. But I am willing to go through those bumps and bruises to give our staff some relief. If our staff are happy, then our students are happy. I think that's a pretty good trickle effect in my book. Thank you.
Thank you, DJ. Up next is Matt Wellington.
Good evening. My name is Matt Wellington. I'm the Dean of Students at Southeast. I also am a parent of a 1st grade and 5th grade student at Southeast Elementary. I've been part of this calendar committee since its first inception in 2018, when the idea behind it was simply to solve the low attendance issue on Friday. As board members, I think it's important to make decisions based on sound research. We can all stand up here and point to a single study that shows a 4-day calendar is beneficial to students, We can also stand up here and show that it has a negative effect on student learning, but a single study is truly meaningless. In the education world, the definitive authority on educational research comes from the work of John Hackett. His research compiled results of over 60,000 different studies involving 88 million students to determine what has the greatest effect on student learning. His analysis has become the cornerstone of moving education in a positive direction. According to Hattie's research, school calendars and schedules have little to no effect on student learning. If everything remains the same, students will not have any different learning outcomes, regardless of being on a 4-day, a 5-day, an extended year, or even a year-round calendar. If we were moving to a 4-day calendar, simply for the sake of changing the calendar or to save money, I would be adamantly opposed. The reason the change makes sense is what our district is planning on doing with that 5th day. It will allow us to work collaboratively to develop many of the processes that have the highest impact on student learning. Response to intervention, mastering instructional programs, getting clear about what we want our kids to know and how we know that they know it, and ensuring that we are providing clear feedback to students in their current achievement levels. If it was a simple change, if it was a simple schedule change, a 4-day calendar makes no sense. But because of what we are wanting to do with the extra time, the change to a 4-day calendar makes the most sense for the students of Goshen County. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. And that is all of the reports that I have, unless anyone else would like to share. Does the board have any questions? Anything further from the calendar committee? Okay, then we will adjourn. Oh, wait. Can we do like we did last time? Sure, come on up.
Sorry, I got here a little bit late, so I think my form is still sitting on the table back there with another one. Hi, my name is Jamie Mailing. I'm a parent of 3 middle school age students at Southeast. I've also been in various teaching positions across 3 different states and several districts for over 20 years. First, I want to thank all of you for the roles that you play in our district, especially the elected school board members. These are never easy and often very complicated. And the calendar committee, I do appreciate all the work that you guys have put into this. And I do understand that everyone has our kids' best interests at heart. I'm actually here tonight to ask you not to approve the 4-day calendar or the balanced calendar. I am very much in support of a traditional calendar. I've tried very hard to keep an open mind with all of this and take everything into consideration. But I still just can't see the benefit to our student body as a whole across the entire district. My biggest issue with the 4-day calendar is that there are over 30 Fridays that most kids will not be in school. For me personally, my kids are old enough to manage themselves. However, that's still 30 days. That's an entire calendar month where they're not in school. They won't be with their dad and I because we'll both be at work. They're too young to go to work. So unless some fantastic enrichment option is offered by certified staff, they'll be sitting at home doing whatever they want, unsupervised, for an entire month. It's just a month of wasted time for them, I feel like. If they do have sports activities or practices on Friday, how am I as a parent supposed to get them to school for that practice or that sporting activity in the middle of the day, especially like the practice in the middle of the day? We live over 20 miles away from school and both of us work in different towns. We drive a lot, but I can't make that happen at 1 o'clock for practice. For game, you can make that work, but for practices, how do I take off work to do that? I believe that many families with younger children will have daycare issues and older kids could be getting into trouble around the community. A typical work week for most adults is 5 days a week or possibly 4 10-hour days. But many parents will be working most Fridays, so this could cause issues for other employers in the community also, including school staff whose kids would then be at home, not just for an occasional meeting or professional development day, but over 30 days per year. And that's the part I just can't wrap my brain around.
I believe a large part of this conversation is to try to accommodate sports and activity schedules, which I understand. My kids do participate in that, so I get it. I don't have any hard numbers, but I would guess that no more than 25% of students district-wide, and you're starting to include all the elementary kids in Torrington, less than 25%, I'm guessing, are involved on any given day. So why is the whole district changing to accommodate that small portion of students? I'm glad to hear earlier at the beginning that the practice program was approved. I was listening on my way in onto the YouTube channel. I do have a question about that yet is whether or not the daycare is available in the mornings for non-intervention kids, or it's only available in the afternoons. I would like an answer to that when we're done. As for the possible enrichment option ideas for Fridays, which would be awesome, who would be in charge of that? Our certified teachers are already overworked. I get that. I totally acknowledge that, but this should not be something implemented by parents. I have the utmost respect for the jobs that our parents do, but they aren't trained in this area, just like they're not trained, they're trained more in some other things, but they're not trained to work with gifted and talented students at this point in time. And it does require training. Also, to be clear, enrichment is not tutoring other students, and it is not babysitting. Those might be fine options for kids that would be interested in doing that, but please don't pretend that they're enrichment opportunities for advanced students, because they are not, and my children would not be a part of that, even though they would be qualified to do that. Also on a 4-day schedule, the longer school days create later activity times, later bus routes, later extracurriculars, even outside of school. Fewer actual school days make it unrealistic to think that the same amount of curriculum would be covered. It's my understanding, like the previous gentleman mentioned, that some of those new curriculums that seem to be working really well are set up on a 5-day-a-week schedule. As Michelle mentioned earlier, I do still worry about the classified staff and their hours or benefits being cut. I know it's been said that that won't happen, but I struggle to believe the reality of that. I think someone may have mentioned this as well, the less stable home lives and the kids would struggle. Thank you. I do support our teachers. I think whatever we decide, they will follow through and do the best that they have always done. So thank you.
Could you maybe address some of the specifically the practice program on that maybe, or in that
It was just the morning.
the morning?
I mean, Asian definitely. Your voice carries pretty well and out on your grass.
They still come from some sort of daycare. So our grant only allows us to start, first of all, let me clear up, we don't call our program daycare or teaching. It is an academic enrichment program. We use employees or teachers and registered. We do use the evidence-based curriculum. But our program would not start until we are not budgeted. So we were starting to do those California. Currently, our program runs on a first come first served basis when students register. We have in years past and in times past had a wait list. This year we've been fortunate enough to hire enough staff so we can bring all the students off of our wait list. So we do not have wait lists at legal weekend or trail where our programs operate. You know, I can't really speak to hypotheticals as far as 4 days a week or anything like that until we know more about what that's going to look like. So the grant that we applied for, again, it was approved. We were awarded that money with the understanding that there will be modifications that still need to be made to our grant proposal because we don't have all of them. That answer all questions? Where it's at? It's located at Legal, Trail, and Lee. We used to have a program in Southeast. The Southeast program typically only consistently had 5 children attending. Those 5 children were teacher kids. So when their parents went home, they went home. So they typically did not stay till 5:30, the way that our other programs are run. And the Department of Education felt like that wasn't the best return on investment for the funds that we were spending there. And so gives on their recommendation that we no longer have to.
And I think for the morning portion, with the intention of intervention and enrichment, that would incorporate the majority of our kids that would need that service. Again, a lot of moving parts and a lot of unknowns, but that would be the intention. And I want to add something real quick because we keep addressing staff, and I think one thing we need some perspective on. Got some outstanding educators out here. Aaron Estes standing right over here. So imagine Aaron Estes circa 2013 over here. Your optics are a fantastic teacher. 2023, you have Aaron Estes over here. Still the same optics, fantastic teacher. Over here, she's putting in 15% extra time. Over here in 2023, she's putting in 50–60% extra time for what the expectations are for her to be a fantastic teacher. You're seeing the same thing, great teachers. But the expectation on those teachers is so much more than it was even 10 years ago. And quite frankly, that's not sustainable. And we've got to do something to support our teachers. And I think this calendar addresses that. Not perfectly, there's still going to be a ton of extra time because the expectation for those teachers are huge. But you need to understand the difference. The optics say we've got outstanding teachers, but what they have to do that is so much more substantial than it was 10 years ago. So.
I'd like to thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak on this 4-day school week. My name is Mike Mackey. I've been a resident of Goshen County for over 20 years. It's hard to believe. But I'm here to speak against the 4-day school week. And I can sit here and give you statistics. I can tell you what people say. You can do the research, and I encourage each and every one of you to do that research. I just noted a few things down, but I'm just going to give you a little bit of experience that we went through with our own family. Not my personal family, but my brother's family. They've been in a 4-day school week for over 10 years in the school. They have 100% graduation rate at that school. You know, I think the state graduation rate in Wyoming is 83%. I think Goshen County is 81%. Southeast is 98%. I don't know what Lincoln is, but I think Torrington is 79%. That's what drops us down to 81%. But I have looked and looked and looked for statistics on the positive and the negative things about a 4-day school week. I haven't been able to find any real statistics. But I do know this. In a rural setting, test scores have gone up 2% every year. First of all, let's define what rural setting is. That's a community of less than 2,500 people. Around 500 people within a certain area is better. So say Southeast is a lot rural, smaller community, not 2,500 people in there. Suburban areas such as this, kids are a lot worse off. They don't excel as well. Test scores fall in math and in language arts. Longer class times are beneficial because it gives kids a lot more time to learn. And it increases student attendance 4-day school weeks too. One statistic I found interesting is one of the positive things about a 4-day school week is bullying went down 39%. Had one less day to pick on the other kids, I guess. Economically, a 4-day school week for the community around you decreases the federal funding that you'll get for your school. I think that's important to take into consideration. The next thing, it hurts transportation. It hurts the operations of the school, hurts the first services in the school. And I'll tell you what, anytime you have to do the same on less, I haven't seen one good benefit from that. And I think in economy in today's system, we're all doing with less, and there's never been any good from that. One of the things that the benefits of school week is health. It is better for your health, your mental health, and I think the teachers probably need that. Because I'll tell you what, I have to applaud each and every teacher that's here for the time they put in to become a teacher. The sacrifice they make in their lives to be a teacher. They were committed to do that. And I have to commend them because there are a lot of people who can't do that, or don't do that, or choose not to do that. So I do have to tell them they do a great job, you know, and I talked to Lynn Oliva tonight, and he went to a seminar, and he was saying the Mountain States and the suicide rate in youth is one of the highest out there. And we wonder why that is. You know, maybe the mental health of those kids would help on a 4-day school week. I don't know. There's no statistics to say yes or no. Rural areas, I'll tell you what, I think maybe guys that are ranching. I know where my brother grew up there. Every Friday, those kids were out helping ranch. And they were, if they had a 4-day school, they weren't doing sports, they were working with their family. They enjoyed the 3-day weekend, which got them done. But I'll tell you, another thing that I've noticed is as I read an article by the Annenberg Institute at Brown University, it was completed August 22nd, and it found that the 4-day school week harmed more students than others. So I think you need to do some research before you make a vote on that. On how is it going to affect these? I understand our staff needs that, but I do know 2 states, New Mexico passed a law to restrain from going to the 4-week. They don't like that. They don't want to do it. And I'll tell you another thing. If you decide to go to the 4-day school week and it doesn't work out, it's almost impossible for you to go back. So you can't change in the middle of the street. It's not going to work. So if you decide to do that, it probably won't happen. But let me tell you a little bit of a story about my niece and my nephew. Both of them went to Copeland High School. They've been in this 4-day school week for over 10 years in that school. It says they have 100% graduation. That's not true, because my niece never graduated there. She struggled. She was a girl who struggled with 4-day school week. So we had intervention. So we sent them to Friday school. Well, they have Friday school 2 days a month. Sometimes they can't get there on a Friday. So she was struggling. Homework piled up. Her grades weren't good, so she couldn't participate in athletics. So then she got ridiculed. So then nothing happened. She didn't get any better. So she ended up saying, okay, I'm going to do homeschool. Well, she went to homeschool. Well, that didn't work. Mom wasn't a teacher. That didn't work. So they ended up moving to Odessa, Texas. She took online classes from Wyoming Virtual Academy. It's called WIVA. And so she did that Zoom teaching through there. She learned through there, and she graduated from the Wyoming Virtual Academy in Lusk, Wyoming. So they made the trip from Odessa to Lusk, and I attended that graduation last year. And that was a huge graduation at Lusk High School for WIVA. All those teachers were teachers accredited by the state, taught from home through Zoom, and she was able to graduate. I had a nephew, went through the same school. He never struggled at all. He loved the 4-day school. You know, heck, all the football games were on Friday, some of them on Thursday, but they can do what they want. So it's not for everybody. The kids that struggle on this 4-day school week are going to struggle. And if they don't get the help, and I know they won't, they're going to go down. We've already went through the Platte Valley School, and now we're at a bigger facility up here at the college. Because those kids are struggling. And it's just going to get worse. You'll see. So when you think about that, think about those kids. Okay? That's about all I have to say, except one thing. There are some really, really, really good coaches in this. As I heard this on the comment on the last meeting, I watched on the TV, and they said that we want to get our teachers better. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to teach them better so they can talk to the kids better and they can teach the kids better. I'm going to tell you this. I've never seen this community's had some of the greatest coaches I've ever met. Football, Mark, you can't probably get a better one. But I'm telling you, I've never heard a coach say, if you don't put the time in the summer, is okay with me. If you don't put any time in the weight room, that's okay with me. I'm still gonna start you out there. Never heard that. I've never heard a coach say, summer camps don't make winter champs. I've never heard anybody say, we don't have to out practice them. Never happens. The kids that excel put the time in. Sundays, after school, extra programs, they put the time in. If you want to excel in school, you got to put the time in. 5 days a week, you need to go to school. You need to learn. We don't need to teach, have to teach these kids to learn what's in the book. We need to teach these kids to think. I have a question to ask all of you. And if the answer is yes, I want to hear you raise the roof off this place. I want to go, woo, okay? Because everybody knows I work for the county. I work for the Road and Bridge Department. The roads are in the best shape they've ever been in this county. I want to hear it. Everybody say it. If it's yes, I want to hear woohoo. Are they in the best shape? No, they're not. That's what a 4-day a week gets you. We work 4 days a week, 10 hours a day. Longer days, doesn't do a thing. We got the best blades out there and happen. Not happening. You gotta put the time in. You gotta go to school. Need to learn. Our teachers, I understand. When I took the job at the county, when I took the job as a lineman, I knew I was on call. I knew I had to go out at night. I knew I had to work on weekends. I knew all that. I accepted that. If I didn't want to do that anymore, I changed my profession. Because that's what comes with the job. And I know we expect more out of you. But the point of it is, I hope it's not my kid or my grandkid that falls through the cracks. And just like Mrs. Bowles said, she's all for that. I'm telling you, until your kid falls through the cracks. I'm okay with school as long as, until it's my kid that's failing, or it's my kid that's getting bullied, or it's my kid that's not, then it becomes a serious problem. I say don't let the problem happen. Say no to the 4-day school week because I know it's not beneficial. And I've been here the last times about that, I guess in 19. But I've yet to have one kid. I would want to get my niece to come from Odessa and talk here today to tell you it's a bad idea. I'll let it hear from her, but I've yet heard one kid from any school district that's graduated from a 4-day school week come to this meeting and tell you how good it was. Not one. So that's what I have to say. So thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Is there anyone else?
Thank you for the question.
Yeah, you're talking about all.
My name is Chelsea Hershey. I am a mom of 3 girls, one who's in middle school here at Torrington Middle School, 2 whom I'm homeschooling right now. We lived in the area for about a year this coming March. I do have experience with a 4-day school week, and it was pretty awesome. My kids attended Burns Elementary for, 2017 through 2020. Homeschooling started during COVID. My oldest daughter decided she wanted to go back to school this year, so she went to Torrington Middle School and loves it. My experience, once again, was great. I don't have all the answers to the questions that you as a school board have to answer. But I can tell you that my kids were better rested. They had more of a chance of one-on-one time or small group time with their teachers on Friday. And we as a family had more family time. We aren't ones that normally take a family vacation for very long, so we like to take our vacations in short times. And so we were able to go back to family's houses in Nebraska, go up to North Dakota. In those 3 days, a lot easier. We could leave Thursday night, come back Sunday, and we had plenty of fun and we were still able to not miss school. Our school day started at 7:50. Kids were released around 3:45, Monday through Thursday. And Friday, school was held from 8 to 10. And it was utilized for kids needing extra guidance. And I believe the teachers did a lot of planning afterwards. During our time at LCSD2, the biggest benefit that I noticed was that our kids were so much more rested by having that extra day off. I get that we have a lot of extracurriculars. I was running around trying to pick up all my kids from all the things that they were doing this evening, trying to get here as well. But that extra day off, we all need rest. Even our kids need rest, and that was huge. We started school at Burns. My husband and I both had full-time jobs. It wasn't without challenges, but I did see a community that stepped up and faced those challenges head on. So I appreciate you listening to me, and I encourage you to pass the 4 days. Thank you.
Thank you, trustee. I think trustee Alexander had a question.
Yeah, I have one. Sorry. I have one question about on Fridays, we were talking about the not daycare, but the what you call it? Yeah. If the kids are going in the morning for intervention, do they also get to participate in the afternoon? And then if that is so, we serving a meal at that time, or do they have to leave the school to get a meal? They got to bring a meal, or how would that work?
We were told that we could, the school district, but we couldn't serve them through the current program that we currently do. We can work with public entities to get that donated like we currently do with the backpack program. There's quite a surplus with the money that is available for that. We were also told that the school district could pay for it out of general funds, and I believe, correct, I may be wrong on that, but that's also an option, yes.
My question actually relates to Mr. Blumber's comments as far as the curriculums of Eureka Math and Gordon Gillingham. Understanding that it's a evidence-based curriculum. And, you know, his comment is that they would actually have to pick and choose which lesson. So my question is, within our agreement with those companies, or do we have an agreement that could actually give us some guidance as to, rather than leaving it to the teachers to make those decisions as to what lesson can be taught?
I'll serve over to them. I know, and I actually received communication from our Gordon Gillingham trainers in regards to the layout of a schedule for a 4-day week, but I'll let them kind of address that question.
And I can speak directly to Eureka Math. I visited with our trainer that's in-house, and she reached out to their curriculum designers, and they work with hundreds of schools that are in 4-day school weeks. And basically what it amounted to is, when we determine, if we determine that we're going to a shorter calendar, they would look at the structure of the current curriculum, and it'd be basically a redesign that would be custom for us to make sure our kids are getting the content they need. Again, they deal with hundreds of schools that are on a 4-day calendar and alternative calendars. And so there's a template for that, but it would be customized for us. So and OG would be very similar. In the conversations with our trainers, they would be very similar. They would look at the structure, look at the number of days, and figure out a structure that would work and still keep it in the evidence base and allow it to be valid. So is that within our current agreement, or would there have to be a stipulation, and would it be an added cost to that? I do not believe there would be an added cost. Like I said, there's already the structure out there because they work with schools like this. So there would be conversations that would be had. But my understanding from the Eureka trainer, and it sounds like the OG group as well, that would be part of what we're doing with them already, is taking a look at what we've got and redesigning it. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Heidi Edmonds. I am a mom of two daughters who attend Trail Elementary and Bridgeton Middle School. I am also a product of Goshen County School District. I graduated from Southeast High School. I have a background in higher education primarily. I worked for about 15 years in that field, and I'm also a licensed mental health professional. So hopefully my comments come from a multifaceted perspective. I tried to think of something a little bit different maybe than what has been raised tonight. And I think that we heard a lot of very valid concerns, particularly from parents about their children and what maybe that absence of a fifth day in school means to them. And I think that these are very real concerns, and they're raised by parents who care a lot, right? They showed up here to talk about this. You've heard their comments. And I don't dismiss those at all. In fact, I probably share some of those concerns. I do think it's very important that we question and maybe actually push back on the notion that all of these problems are the school's own to solve. I think that we should be very careful in parsing out exactly what our school's responsibilities are here and what we can ask others to shoulder as we encounter the challenges of raising and educating our children. I think that we've heard from many people tonight that our staff and our teachers are overburdened. We have fantastic teachers. I have not encountered a single teacher in my experience professionally with my own children and my own experience here who isn't a fantastic educator in Goshen County. We're very fortunate. I do think that we should listen to them when they talk about the challenges that are facing them. And if we continue to entertain the notion that it is our school's responsibility alone to not only educate our students, but keep them in school all of the time, provide them mental health services, which is becoming more and more important, and of course, something I value greatly. In addition to providing something as simple as childcare or enrichment activities, we are simply adding to the burden that they're telling us they are already carrying. And so I would like to say that I think that it is very likely that employers in our community, perhaps daycare providers, even community members right now in services are not particularly well equipped to deal with these challenges. But I really appreciate what my friend Chelsea just said about Burns and the community there rising to that challenge. And I would actually like to offer similar challenges to us as parents, as educators, as community members to encourage, push on those entities to support us in supporting our children. This is a community effort. I think the schools go above and beyond. I think we need to understand, we need to draw some boundaries. We need to understand where those need to end, and we need to allow other people to step in. So again, I think the concerns that have been raised are very valid. I think that we need to look at placing those appropriately and supporting the people that can fill in the gaps. I cannot say enough good things about the practice after school program. I worked for Lynette. My kids have attended the after school program. It is a tremendous program. It has filled a gap in this community for many, many years. It has employed college students that I worked with, and I fully trust that we have already seen, right, in the short time that we've talked about this, people step up to fill a need. So I think that if we continue to push that notion, that challenge forward to our community, that we will potentially see good things. Obviously, I hope that you understood that I am speaking in favor of the 4-day school week. I thank you for your time and listening to me, and I appreciate the opportunity to contribute.
Thank you, Heidi. Is there anyone else that would like to share this?
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Rebecca Colhorn.
Turn the mic.
My name is Rebecca Colhorn, and I acknowledge, appreciate, and understand where the teachers are coming from in the fact that they have so many duties. We have heard parental concerns, and I'm not gonna tell you where I stand on the 4-day week. My question is, we're looking at taking an entire day away from the students at this point in time on Fridays. What effort, if any, has been made to take duties, responsibilities, and such off of the teacher's plate? We're looking at this end of it in trying to give the teachers more time to accomplish the very many things that they are required to do. What if we look at the opposite end, that we just take those things off? Also, I have a daughter who has Down syndrome. I am looking at what's going to happen on the Friday. She needs a lot of stimulation. She's a very social little girl. She needs more all the time, more. She's a sponge. I cannot feed her brain her desire for more input in 4 days, especially when I'm on to work on that 5th day. Yes, there's going to be intervention, but not every Friday. So that leaves me to find something else that would have to come out of my pocket to pay for. And I suppose if I found something that I felt was quality enough, we would find the resources to do that. But quite frankly, at this point in time, we're struggling to make the bill that we already have, and I can't add another bill to that. So the question becomes, is there any community resources that can be brought in other than the after school program? So that we are addressing more the front end of this instead of all at the back end of it and on the day off. Thank you. Thank you, Rebecca. And we have else. Board members. I do have a quick question, and I don't think that it has an answer. It's in regards to the classified staff. When will we know? When will we have certainty regarding their salaries and benefits? Will that have to come out of wage committee? Will we have to make the calendar decision and then have that discussion?
Correct. The salary relations would be portions of that, how we would actually go about making sure that that stays whole, that hard salary relations, that salary relations agreement.
Thank you.
I was wondering, he was talking about keeping some of the staff whole that are like an hourly wage on the Fridays and stuff like that. And you brought up the fact of bringing possibly increasing salaries or something to keep them whole, but that wouldn't keep their hours necessarily. If you did something like that to keep them whole, would that affect their benefits such as insurance and stuff, since they may not be research full time?
All of the discussions that we had, we would keep them above the hours required for them to still continue to get their insurance and other benefits.
If there are no further comments, we will adjourn.